Right, if you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for today. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu departed the nation's capital, Abuja, for the United Kingdom to begin a 2-week vacation, which is part of his annual leave.
Yes, the president was seen off at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at about 2:30 p.m. by top government officials.
His handlers say the break will serve as a working vacation and a retreat for him to reflect on his administration's economic reforms.
Well, tours have been at the center of a fierce debate among Nigerians. What is a working vacation in light of the Constitution? And is this actually a retreat for personal reflection?
Have we just been told the president remains in charge from his hibernation in the UK, as was the case with former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and Muhammadu Buhari? We will try to unpack his conversation in a moment.
Let's quickly bring in our guest, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, who is here with us in the studio. Good morning, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid.
Good morning, Chima. Good morning, Henry.
Thank you so very
much.
My
pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much, Barrister, for your time. Now let's get into this, and very humorous, if you ask me, a particular part of that reportage that said the president is going on a 2-week leave to reflect on his administration's reforms for the country. Don't you think that's funny?
Yeah, well, it may not be. It may be funny, it may not be funny. It depends on how we are looking at it. You see, well, what I've seen is that those adjectives being used by the handlers of the president is just to cover up for certain things. Cover up for the requirement of transmitting letter to the National Assembly so that the power will not be handed over to the vice president. That's my thinking.
Okay.
Because once that aspect is not there, that is working vacation or whatever, by section 145 of the Constitution, the president is required to transmit a letter to the National Assembly, to the Senate and the Speaker of the National, to the Senate President and the Speaker of the National Assembly, of his what's it called, not going to be or be on vacation. But because there has been debate as regards this particular section, some people have been saying that, look, it does not require any letter to be transmitted, except it's going beyond the 21 days. That's when it is required to transmit letter. I have looked at the section 145, and for me, my own interpretation is that the president, even if he's going for 2-3 days, once it's vacation, he must transmit letter, because the Constitution says, started by saying, whenever the president is proceeding on vacation or is unable to discharge his responsibility, he shall transmit a letter to the. So you get a look at that. Whenever he didn't give them that discretion to say if the president decide, I desire to, because that section was amended during when there was a program during Yar'Adua's regime, I think. When when he traveled and then he was sick and he was there, and then people were saying no, he does not. There's no way in the Constitution. That time, that Constitution gave him the discretion as to whether or not he wants to transmit later. But this one, the way it's captured now, is that whenever the president is proceeding on what's it called, vacation, or he will be unable to discharge his responsibility as a president, he shall, and whenever the word shall is used in law, it means mandatory. So, but people will now leave that particular section, 145 subsection 1, they will now rely on section 145 subsection 2, which says if the president did not transmit letter after 21 days, the National Assembly shall have the power to confer acting president on the vice president. So that 21 day, that is the second one, is that they will now pick and say the president is only required to transmit letter whenever he's going beyond 21 days or for 21 days. So, but for me, now that they put the word working vacation, that takes it away from the ordinary vacation. So it could be argued that now that it's working vacation, it will not be required to transmit letter because it's still working.
While
It's still discharging his responsibility. So in that regard, he will not be required to. That's why I say that particular adjective and that word of working vacation is to cover for that area of transmission of letter. That's my own opinion. Yeah, does the president have the right to go on vacation? Yes. Is he allowed under our law? Yes. Then my own is that, why is it that whenever we have presidents in Nigeria, they like going abroad to go and do certain things, particularly when it comes to vacation or holiday? Why can't they look for a place in Nigeria and do their holiday days? But the people will say, look, if that should happen, the president will not rest. And I agree with them, truly.
You agree with him on that?
Yeah, I agree with them. Nigerians politicians, they will be like Mecca of short. We are here to visit you. You see, the president came for his Salah or something to Lagos for 3 days, or he was in Abuja. Those he left in Abuja that were there together the same day came back to Lagos and said, we are here to greet you. So they want to be going there, and probably the president wants to decide on certain things, and he doesn't want any disturbance. Maybe he wants to concentrate and he doesn't want that. So he wants a situation whereby limited people around him will be the one with him. Probably he wants to take certain decisions, just like they said. So, but for me, the president better do well.
Okay,
I am not even aware of one other, most of the foreign countries who have been going abroad
Exactly.
to do their vacation.
Thank you,
Because if a president should do his vacation, for example, like Obudu Ranch or somewhere else again, do you know how that place will be transformed? Do you know what the economic benefit that will bring? But unfortunately, it won't happen because the president will not be allowed. But if the president wants to stay there and doesn't want to see anybody, he will be allowed to.
Definitely.
But because he also wants to see them. He also wants to play politics. So if he wants to be there and he said, look, I don't want to no visit, they will not come. They will not allow them even to come.
Thank you, Barrister Abdulhamid. Now, let's look at the National Assembly. Should the National Assembly be more proactive in ensuring that constitutional processes are followed? Because looking at our National Assembly and some of the irregularities that have been happening with some office holders, and the National Assembly not standing up to telling them of some of the right process that are meant to be followed, how can the National Assembly play a role effectively in this case?
That's their job now. The job of the National Assembly, like I said, their responsibility are just merely three. One is making law, which people see as the primary responsibility of the National Assembly. The second one is what's it called? Oversight function, and the third one is representing us. So oversight function means that look at the areas you do check and balance on the executives and other arms. So their responsibility is to do that. But unfortunately, we don't have National Assembly that is functional, particularly this 10th Assembly. It's not as if those laws are not there. It's not as if those responsibilities are not there for them to put them in check or to ensure that our constitution is followed. If we are in a country where laws are followed, the president, I'm not talking only about this president, most of the presidents in Nigeria they should have been, they will be impeached before the end of their tenure, because most often they violate the provision of the constitution. Majorly, for example, I remember during the last administration, there was a violation regarding spending of money that was not budgeted for. The same thing is happening under this regime. It's been happening before now too. So, but we don't have a National Assembly that will look the executive in the eyes. But I'm talking about in particular this National Assembly. This National Assembly did not even see themselves as having any oversight power over the president. They see themselves as subordinates of the president. They see themselves as appendage of the president. They see themselves as agents of the president. They do not see themselves as acting or being representing people or and asking questions from those in the executive regarding what is happening in the country. So whenever there is hardship in the country, that we often call on labor, we call on the activists, we call on this. We should be called. It should be the work of the National Assembly to do that on our behalf, because they are representing us. They are the ones that have come to say, look, we are they should be speaking on our behalf. But unfortunately, we don't have a functional National Assembly, particularly this. I'm talking about this 10th National Assembly. The one I saw that did a human job in terms of the responsibility of National Assembly was the 8th Assembly, led by Dr. Bukola Saraki, and at that time too, he was not appreciated by Nigerians, because Nigerians, based on sentiment, they were saying he was a clog on the progress of the former President Buhari at that time. They were saying because he was asking the right question, he was doing the right job. The right job and the right question is to ask them. Whenever anything is brought to them, it's not for them to just say we are approving or we are taking it. And that's why we have so much debt today. Because most of these debts are being asked for. There won't be any classification as to what the debt are meant for, what are the details of the debts. And when you ask questions, those are the questions that were being asked by the then Senate President, Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, when people say it's a clock. So Nigeria too, sometimes we don't want people who do the job the way it should be done. Once you are doing the right thing, people see you as abnormal and you are not doing the wrong thing, especially when they like that person. So for me, it's not about the law. It's not about any policy. The law is there. It's about implementation. Okay. Do we have the right people there to implement it? My answer for me, particularly in this 10th assembly, we don't have.
Okay. Thank you, Barrister Tunji.
All right. I think we have some guests joining us virtually. But just before we get to them and we get all the things needed to get them to join us, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, I wanted to ask you, if you take a look at, because you talked about the patriotism here and the need for us as a people to appreciate what we have in the country. If you take a look at the Western world, the United States, for example, from where we borrowed all that we have, the presidential system of government and all that we have. When presidents in such a region want to go on vacation, they do it within their country. California, Joe Biden uses Honolulu is where Barack Obama equally, takes his vacation. But for us, it's the reverse of the case. Do you think this is not necessarily a vacation? Nigerians have come up to say it could be possible that he is going on a medical trip. Do you think that is so?
Hey, there is nothing bad in president going for any medical vacation or medical treatment or whatever. And if the president is also, if he didn't say he's going for medical, and he decided to go on his vacation and decided to do medical within those periods, I don't see anything bad in it. And he does not. I'm not sure he's under obligation to tell us that, because though in countries where things are run the way it should run, where there are proper transparency, the president will disclose all his itineraries and whatever he wants to do. But in this country, we see it as abnormal for president to even disclose that I'm going for medical or I'm going for this and that. So, but I don't see anything bad if the president says I'm going on vacation, and then during that vacation, he decide to look at his health. I don't see anything bad in it. But people are concerned about it because we have seen lack of transparency in the country. Probably people will be suggesting maybe the president is not too good, he's not feeling well, and that's why he's not going on vacation, he's going for this particular medical or whatever. But in as much as they are able to put it on something, vacation is part of the president has the right to go on vacation, like I said. And he can do whatever he wants to do during his vacation, whether medical. He can even go and play football if he wants to play.
All right. So we have virtually joining us from Lagos, Dr. Victor Hai. He's a public affairs commentator, and Prince Kenneth Ikenwa, the public affairs analyst and lecturer, University of Lagos. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. You can hear me, right?
I can.
Oh, beautiful. All right, so we were discussing on the vacation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What do you see to that, particularly knowing that the reason the handlers cited was simply because he was going on a vacation to see if his reform in the country is good enough. I would love to have your take on that.
I don't know whether the air in the UK is better for thinking. If it is, then I think it is also a sign that you should make the air in Nigeria good enough for thinking. That notwithstanding, a man deserves his vacation, no doubt about it. But I don't see foreign presidents going on vacation to other countries, going to spend their country's scarce foreign exchange in other climes. It doesn't make sense to me. As a private citizen, you can do whatever you want, but the signals are not very good. For us to say a president is going abroad for vacation, we should be able to develop our tourism here in such a way that if it is to go and see sites and all that, we have places that we can go to. But I think what the vacation basically is for a president like that is a time away from work where he can rest, meet with his family, and have a clear head to prepare to come back and do the job of the state. So this idea of always going out, I mean, this will put, I don't care what it says, but it puts further pressure on the foreign exchange, because it may be a private vacation, but we're going to finance it. Certainly, we paid for the plane that took him there, okay, and we're going to pay for his maintenance while he's there. I don't think it speaks well. This is the time that Nigeria needs him more than any other time, and I think that the more we have him around, the better. He may have gone there to escape pressure because of the issue of revamping or reconstituting his executive council, but there's no place he goes to that they will not meet him. They will travel with him. They will meet him in that place. So, for me, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
A man is entitled to his vacation. Don't get that wrong. He can do whatever he wants in his vacation, but I think it's always good to, something may be right, but it may not be expedient. So the body language is very, very important. You want to tell Nigerians, Nigeria is good enough for your vacation. Stay here, spend your money here. And you have to lead frontally and lead by example. So I can see you doing it.
Thank you, Victor. Now, I'm talking about something being right and expedient. Tinubu did not attend, the President Tinubu did not attend the UNGAC summit in New York 2 weeks ago, citing the need to focus on governance. But 2 weeks later, he's heading to the UK for vacation. Is this a case of choosing where to be when he likes, or how do you marry both?
Somebody was joking and saying, is this still wanted in America? And I just laughed. Well, people can be mischievous. Say what I was escaping prosecution for America. Well, that's neither here nor there. Is a president. I think it's agreed to cover everything. But and he can send anybody to represent him. But hunger is the single most important diplomatic event for any country and the president in a year. And I think his presence would have made a lot of difference. The domestic affairs, I don't see what he did here. I don't know whether it was within that period he went to Borno.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know what difference that made. If he sent Shetima there, Shetima is from Borno, yeah, he's wearing the shoe and he feels the pinch more. He would have been better suited to go for that trip, and the president can always visit whenever he wants. I don't see what difference that trip has made to anybody or even to Borno indigents, It hasn't bettered their lives. I don't see what it has done. Hunger would have had a greater impact because you would have had, outside the General Assembly, there are so many side, meetings that are held with other heads of state, with businesses, because, they go with businessmen and all that. So many things that could have been done on the sidelines, on the sides of the hunger. But I don't know why he didn't go, and I don't see the benefit of his staying back. And no sooner, like you said, he has his back again, out of the country again. We used to accuse Buhari of being a Nigella travel. If we start counting now, I'm sure we'll soon run out of breath with the times this current president has traveled out and the amount of money that has gone into these travels.
Okay, thank you, Victor. By Satunja Abdulhamid, coming back to you, can we say late President Yar'Adua's case, him traveling and not giving an official letter or making an official announcement to Nigerians, actually set a precedent for what the sitting president or the current president is doing now?
Yeah, I think the two cases are a bit different in a way, because at that time when Yar'Adua was there, as you recollect, that the law did not require of him to transmit letter. And that was why they amended the constitution at that time to reflect what we have today in section 145, to say whenever, before there is that discretion. I can't remember how it was couched that time again, but he gives at that time he gave the president the discretion as to whether or not he will transmit or not.
No.
Then what we have in the constitution today, as far as I'm concerned, it made it mandatory for the president that whenever he's going on vacation, to transfer, whether it's for 21, 20 days, 20 days, 3 days, 5 days, or 5 days, once he's going on vacation, as far as I'm concerned, because people are saying now, some people are saying it's only when he's going to spend 21 days. It's not so. Whenever he's going on vacation, or is unable to discharge his responsibility, he shall transmit. That's what the constitution says. Now, it didn't say he may, or it didn't say whenever he decides. You get my point. So the position at that time when Adua was there was because the law permit that, and that was why they changed the law. The Nigerian situation, Nigerians will like copy. Let's even admit that law was not even followed or was followed or this and that. Should we be copying? If you are coming in to change what has been done in the past that you think is not right, and you are coming and you are following the same precedent, are you doing the right thing? You are not, because you are not changing anything. You can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. So if you are talking about changing the things, you must do things the right way. If this government that will be talking about, let's patronize or promote our national product or interest. There are so many places where president can go, and the president being in that place will transform that place to another thing. And it will be a place where people would follow and say, look, let me go and do my rest here too. Let me go and do that and that. If you continue in that manner, you get result. Unfortunately, we have today this kind of the president, those who have in leadership today, and don't even follow. There are presidents in the past which I expect them to follow, and they have not been following. I'm not sure whether President Buhari visited up to 3 or 4 states while he was in power. Before, when they during Obasanjo or which of them, they visit almost all the states before leaving office. In other words, they do what they call a tour to be able to see whether or not what they can do, because we have in all states we have federal responsibilities there. There's what we call federal road. There's what we call federal hospitals. There's what we call federal university. So they go to each state to determine and see what by themselves. But these days we don't see them go again. What they do is go for one foreign trip or the other. In fact, in a month, our president can go to about 3 or 4 trips. And like you said at the right time, the president ignore hunger in the name of he wants to focus on the local needs. After the hunger, he decided to travel. When we see how those needs on ground, the president is still there. And then the president say he wants to go abroad to go and rethink and see whether or not he has done well or he has not. Maybe he wants to go and mark himself. And in other words, when you to be able to properly mark yourself, you must be at a serene environment. And that's why I agree with Mr. Ohai that if that breach in that what's it called? UK. Maybe we should import that one too.
Okay, but before I let you go, what are the political implications for the vice president in this case now? Because now it's as though the vice president just have nothing to do about it.
What political implications? I don't know. Because like I said, this is justifiable. The president, under this circumstance now, this travel by the president is not required to transmit any letter. And that's not contradicting my position regarding the constitution. Because in his letter, I didn't say he's going for vacation alone. He said working vacation, which means he's still in office. You get my point. That's why I say they use that adjective to knock it down, not to be required of any letter, because he said working vacation. So he's still working. He's still a president. So the vice president will remain his vice president. There's no legal implication. It remains, and he's not even dragging anything with the president. The vice president that I know here now, he's not dragging anything with the president. He's not contesting to be acting president. Because and that's why he was picked. They want somebody who will be loyal to the core, and I think for them to now they are enjoying themselves. Even though if he's bottling anything inside, it's inside. It's not coming out. So, and I don't want to suggest anything for him. As far as I'm concerned, by law, he's not losing anything now. The law is there, and the law did not say he should become acting vice president. Now, when the president is on vacation, particularly working, don't remove that working. If you say vacation alone, yes. It's under obligation to transmit letter. Then when we say working vacation, because the constitution say unable to discharge his responsibility, so he's discharging his responsibility as his vacation. So the vice president has no legal has nothing to lose, and there's no any legal implication of the president traveling without any transmitting letter to the vice president.
All right.
Acting president.
Doctor, I wanted to ask you, looking at the leadership character tendencies of those in power. I'd love to ask you, could this be a bad precedents that have been set as a result of our failure in our electoral system, where, of course, we keep having round pegs in the square hole?
You know, a round peg can be in a round hole, yet it could still be defective. I'm not going to throw away baby with the bathwater. I will always say that the problem with this country is leadership. It's not that we don't have people who, even the people in government, that they cannot perform. But sometimes I tend to think that the wickedness in them, and I will explain what I mean now.
Please do.
Will not let them do the right thing. It has been argued that for the political class to remain relevant, they must impoverish the working class so that they can continue to be dependent on them. And then when they give them, it's like giving a dog a bone, then the dog will begin to wag its tail and say, "Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir." I saw the president traveling, and I saw how so responsible men. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I saw how responsible men, fathers and grandfathers, lined up, like school children, like we used to do in the days of Yakubu Gowon when he was president. We would line up the street and we start waving. That, as you say, "Daddy, you say, "Daddy, bye bye, Daddy, bye bye." I was just wondering, I think, what kind of a country is this? But you know why? Because the executive power and executive privileges that he commands, that he dishes at his will, has made them what they call loyalty now, so subservient. They can't even look him in the face or question him. And so how can you expect anything good to come out of government? Because these same people cannot tell him the truth. They will always say to him, "Oga, don't mind this, they are opposition." We are here talking now. If we tell the government the truth, they will say, "Don't mind them, they are opposition." But in reality, and this has been since ancient times, you will find the court jester. That is where the kings hear the truth from. Because they will say it in a jocular form. They are the only ones that can come and pull the king's beard and everybody will laugh. They will call the king a goat and they will laugh. But the king are not that. Wise kings hear from them. But so the problem I think we have, like I say, is leadership. Not necessarily because they are not capable. Because they go out there. He just went to China and came back. If you travel to China and you see what is there, you will not remain sober when you come back to this country. They have such a huge population, and yet you can see the level of development there because the people are winning, because there's a leadership that cares about the people, not about the elite. The difference here is that the leadership care about the elite at the detriment of the poor. So, and as long as the poor don't matter, we'll continue to suffer what we're suffering.
Very true. Thank you so very much. I think we have Prince Kenneth Ikenwa. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you
Nice
so.
joining you this wonderful rainy morning.
Oh, thank you so very, very much for your time. And we had actually been discussing on the president's vacation to the UK. And I think it's so very important that we have your take on this particular important topical issue today. So I'd love you to have your say on that, if you may.
Well, let me start by wishing Nigerians a happy independence.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciating Enterprise TV for pushing the new narrative for a better Nigeria. Appreciate all the panelists today for all the constructive, audacious criticisms and pieces of advice towards the presidency. And I wouldn't be having any points of departure from what has been said so far. But let's start looking at these issues from the human angle. From the human angle, the president is entitled to some form of rest. I mean, when we go back to the Holy Script, the creator of heaven and earth, we are told in the Torah, El Berit, after 6 days of working and working tirelessly, had 1 day of rest.
Yeah, definitely.
But we come to the book of Revelation, where we were told that there was a war. And I'm certain that since that war took place, I don't think God has rested. And so we borrow from that allegory and bring it down to Nigeria. I do not think a president that understands the dynamics of the insurgency, of the reckless institutionalization of army in this country should, for whatever purpose or intent, be taking 1 day of rest. The president should not be traveling out of this country at this point in time. I want to appreciate Dr. Victor, who pointed us to China, who should be a beacon of example for us as a country. What did the Chinese do some 40, 50 years ago? After 1960, when we got our independence, our GDP and the economy was better than the Chinese economy. What they did was to lock up their country and start strategic planning, thinking, and send out their best minds to go study in development back with economic models, with engineering models, with intellectual models, with sophisticated mindsets, and rebuild China. Today, China is at par with America, and I dare to say perhaps the largest economy in the world. So it is a case of ambidexterity, looking at it from the right hand and looking at it from the left hand. We come back to the complexity of Nigeria and the politics of the journeys of the presidents. I mean, going back to the days of Yaradua, going back to the so many periods where we had an absent sitting president who refused to hand over. And then you want to consider what is the politics behind why African leaders have to travel so much. As a sociologist by first degree training, I am strongly averse to the intervention of external Bretton Woods institutions into the economics of a country. And I know that when some of these African leaders take these trips, it is actually to go and, give feedback to those who actually are paying them as fighters. So it is a big issue we have to reconsider. I think and I hope that we can use a discussion like this as a bait for addressing what should now become our collective national conscience.
Okay.
There's war in this country. There's hunger war. There's moral war. There's social war. We shouldn't be having the president traveling unnecessarily at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. Now, as a sociologist, let me ask, how can public discourse be shaped around the proper balance between the president's personal time and public's right to have stable governance?
Sorry, can you take that question again?
How can public discourse be shaped around the proper balance between a president's personal time and the public rights to have stable governance?
Once you take the oath of office to become the president of Nigeria, you no longer have any personal time. You no longer have a life of your own. That is why, for all purpose and intent, even your wife is referred to as the first lady of Nigeria, possibly the first wife of Nigeria. Now let's go back to the first black president America had. Do you remember in 2008 when Obama became president? His hair was as black as my mustache. But 4 years down the line, Obama aged fantastically. So coming back to your question, how do we balance or rebalance the discourse around whether the president should have a public time? No, the president can't have a personal time. All the time he should have is on sitting night and day. Night and day, thinking, planning, gathering people together, harnessing experts, taking expert advice on how best to reposition the economy, how best to revitalize the economy, and how best to restructure the economy. So if you blame people now for making much do about these unnecessary Sullivan travels, you wouldn't have too much to say if people are saying no, it shouldn't be coming at this point in time. And we have made it a kind of political culture, a kind of presidential culture, to be making unnecessary trips at this point in time. I tell you the truth, and I'm not speaking to promote myself. If I am president of this country, I can boast that I may never take a trip outside this country. What we need to do is to sit down, sit back in our country, and be honest with our situation and ask ourselves strategic questions on how we can unify this country and how we can appropriate our resources and take this country to the landmark of destiny that the president in his independence speech actually acknowledged that we have as given by providence.
Thank you.
But it's one thing to say something. It's actually another thing to understand what you've said and to actually mean it.
Thank you so very much, Prince Kenneth.
Barrister
Barrister, let's have your part in short on this, please.
Yeah, I think the president should realize that Nigeria is at the point where all hands must be on deck, and the president should lead in that regard. And that was why I appreciated the president when he said he was not going to attend the hunger because he wants to attend to local issues. But I'm surprised that the same president that said that 2 weeks ago, or almost 2 weeks ago, is the same president traveling abroad to go and for vacation, to go and rest, and on working vacation and to examine himself. And another word to examine is what he has done, appreciating himself, or to give himself a mark or whatever. I think we have a responsibility here, a lot of them. And I've always been saying that, look, the president going from one place to another, looking for foreign investors will not help. We don't have the enabling environment here. And no investor will come when there is no enabling environment.
Right.
That the president should come down here. The enabling environment should be provided first. And that's why the president should see it as a mark of importance to stay back at home. Develop this thing that you are taking abroad. The facility is going to do to take abroad. The vacation is going to take abroad. The other thing is doing abroad. It should come and replicate the same in Nigeria, so that other people will want to consider coming to Nigeria to come and do vacation. I think the president should see that, look, we are in a circumstance or situation whereby people are so much hungry in the land.
Dr. Victor Hai, are you still there with us?
Yes.
Beautiful. So, I'd love to have your part in short, but of course, I'd love you to take that with respect to a little stuff that I saw. Late President Jerry Lawrence of Ghana, while he was a young lad, of course, trying to transform Ghana, was asked by the BBC then why he was very strict. And he said they were curating a structure such that even if the devil becomes the president of Ghana, that he would be working alongside with what Ghanaians needed. Is it possible for us to have that kind of structure in Nigeria where our system is curated in a way that those who come into power do what the people want? In 60 seconds, please.
I'm afraid that may not be possible, and I'll tell you why. You have to first of all flush out this current set of politicians. For as long as one of them is there, that's systems like one finger touching the oil, it will soil the rest. They already have a tradition of corruption. Look at the National Assembly today. It's just an extension of the executive, and the people that have there, the culture that they have is corruptible. I don't know how that is going to be possible. If we have a very strong leader like Lee Kuan Yew, who will, or like what has happened in China, we can't encourage this dictatorship. I don't know how that is possible, but if you have a leader who can be there, who will lead frontally and help to restructure the system and stay there long enough. I don't know if 4 years or 8 years is enough. Stay there long enough, flush out everybody, bring up a new breed of Nigerians, and change our value orientation. Then it may be possible. But with this current set of politicians that we have, I'm not being pessimistic, but I can't see it happening. I don't see it. I don't even see the leader emerging through this kind of process that we have today.
Okay.
Very sad one.
Thank you.
But of course, as Nigerians, let's keep hope alive and believe that we would come to that time and that place where we would really be proud to say Nigeria is a great country and simpatico with all the countries of the world. Thank you so very much, Dr. Victor Hai. We truly do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. Victor.
Yes, and also the Dr. Prince Kenneth. Thank you so very much also for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so very much, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid.
Thank you, Barrister
Thank you as always.
Thank you for having
Yes,
me. It's my
thank
pleasure
you.
to be with you. I
All
also
right.
want to say
Yes,
that, look, not only politicians, Nigerians also change their ways.
Okay. Nigerians should change their ways, obviously. Joma, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so this is just about the time we have for our show today. We'd love to say thank you to you. If you've streamed, if you've watched, wherever you've done that around the world, we truly do appreciate your time. But please do well to visit us when you want to at enterprisetvnews.com, and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okoye.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.